stay spooked. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling stories.
Smoke curled like fingers, twisting into faces that almost smiled before vanishing. The villagers' chanting stopped at all once, leaving me drowning in silence and the thunder of my heartbeat. From the fire's centre, a figure stepped forward, half shadow, half flame, eyes burning with centuries of sorrow. It raised its hand, and in the reflection of its fire-lit eyes, I saw my own face. That's when I realized I wasn't here by accident. I had come to the village chasing stories, whispers about an ancient festival that refused to die, even as the world modernized around it. They said the old rites of Samhain still burned here every October. Bonfires for purification, sacrifices for protection, rituals older than memory itself. I told myself it was research. I was a historian. Facts, not superstition. But the moment I arrived, I felt the weight pressing on my skin. The villagers moved like shadows, their faces unreadable in the firelight. Outside every doorway I passed, I saw offerings laid carefully. Bowls of milk, torn pieces of bread, cups of dark wine. At first, it felt quaint, like Halloween stripped back to its roots. But there was no playfulness here. No costumes, no candy, only reverence, only fear. I lingered at the edge of their gathering, with notebook in hand, but I didn't write. I couldn't. I watched as elders dipped their hands into bowls where apples floated, muttering, divining futures of love or death. Others cracked gnats in the flames, listening to each sharp snap as though the fire itself spoke. Every gesture felt deliberate, heavy with purpose. One mistake and something terrible would happen. Then came the sacrifices. I had read about them, but reading is not the same as hearing. The cries of animals faded into the roar of fire, their smoke rising skyward as though feeding something unseen. I told myself again it was just tradition, just performance. But the way their eyes flicked nervously toward the black woods, the way their voices trembled when they sang, I knew they believed. And deep down, I began to wonder if they were right. Drawn to the largest fire, I felt my feet move on their own, carrying me closer to the blaze. The air fittinged, stinging with iron and ash. Whispers threaded into my ears. Low, almost inaudible, yet sharp enough to slice through my thoughts. The villagers fell silent. The flames surged, snapping higher than the treetops, splitting open like a curtain, and the figures stepped through. Cloaked in fire and shadow, it towered above the villagers, its presence pressing against me like a storm front rolling in. I couldn't move. The fire's glow shifted, and I saw faces in the flames. Not illusions, not tricks. Faces, screaming, flickering, trapped like insects in amber. Among them, I saw my own face. My body trembled. This wasn't a ritual. This was a binding. The whispers grew louder, and now they had words. I understood them. I wasn't a visitor. I wasn't just a curious outsider stumbling into old traditions. I was part of it. My blood tied me to this place, descendant of those who had once stood here, chanting by firelight. I didn't come here by choice. I had been called, pulled, claimed. The villagers began chanting again, their voices rising like chains, tightening around my chest. My knees buckled, my lungs seethed. The figure reached forward, palm glowing with embers, its shadow fingers stretching to touch me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but the fire had already claimed me. They say the bonfires burned brighter that night than ever before, casting light deep into the forest where shadows usually reigned. But when the flames dimmed, I was gone. The villagers never speak of it now. Each October, they gather again, whispering their chants, placing their offerings, convincing themselves it's only tradition. But when the wind shifts, they hear something in the smoke. My voice. And sometimes, when the flames roar too high, they see me, a figure standing just beyond the fire, waiting, watching. Because some secrets don't die with strangers. They demand payment from those who were born into them. So, if you ever find yourself wandering into a forgotten village on a cold October night and you hear whispers curling in the smoke, don't look too closely at the flames, because if you do, you might see me looking back.
The lantern burned in my hands, though no fire lived inside it. Its cracked glass pulsed like a living heart, glowing in rhythm with my own, shadows climbing the oak tree as if they wanted me. The voices weren't in English anymore. They weren't words at all, just commands sinking into my bones. Keeper, keeper, keeper. I should never have touched it, but by then, it was already too late. Just a day earlier, everything felt ordinary, even charming. A sleepy southern town, wrapped in fog and dripping Spanish moss, the kind of place where time seemed to move slower. I had read about it online, half-forgotten forums and abandoned blogs that all hinted at the same thing, a local legend called the Lantern Keeper. Most people dismissed it as a Halloween story kids told to scare each other, but I wasn't most people. My curiosity had teeth, and once it bit into something, it refused to let go. At the diner, I tested the waters, asking casually if anyone knew about the lantern. Most ignored me, but one man leaned across the counter, his eyes sharp, and his voice so low I almost missed it. Don't go near the oak tree. Not at night. The lantern's always looking for its next keeper. I tried to laugh, but the sound came out thin, fragile. His expression never changed. He wasn't joking. Later that afternoon, I wandered into the town's museum. It was small, more like someone's attic than a proper collection. And in the farthest corner, hidden behind glass thick with dust, I saw it. The lantern. Its cracked surface seemed ordinary at first, but when I stepped closer, I realized it wasn't reflecting the light of the room. It was glowing faintly, pulsing as if alive. The curator appeared at my side, his face pale, his hands trembling. "It's not an artifact," he whispered. "It's a seal. Leave it be." I should have turned away then. I should have left town, but something about it pulled at me, like a hook beneath the skin. By the time night fell, I was already walking through the fog, following a path I swore I hadn't seen before. The oak tree rose before me, its roots twisting like skeletal hands clutching the earth. At its base lay a stone altar, cracked and weathered by centuries, and resting on it, the lantern. And that's how I ended up holding it. The moment it touched the altar again, the glass flared with a violent light. Shadows stretched unnaturally, bending across the ground as if they were alive. Then came the sound. At first, I thought it was footsteps, but it wasn't. It was the hollow beat of something vast, echoing inside my chest. My ribs shook with every thud. And then he appeared. The lantern keeper. He stood cloaked in rotting robes that sagged as if soaked in centuries of damp earth. His face was hidden in shadow, but his eyes burned like twin coals. He didn't move, he didn't speak, but his presence pressed against me like a weight. I understood instantly. The lantern wasn't a source of protection. It was a prison, a cage for something older than the town itself. And the keeper wasn't guarding it willingly. He was bound, chained to its hunger. Every generation, the curse demanded someone new, and the lantern had chosen me. I glanced at its glass, and my reflection was no longer mine. My skin had gone grey and cracked like stone. My eyes were hollow pits, and deep inside my chest, I saw a flame flickering, struggling to escape. My legs screamed to run, but they refused. The keeper raised his hand, bony fingers trembling, pointing directly at me. The whispers surged until they shook the ground. You are the light. You are the prison. You are the keeper. The lantern dimmed, and in that darkness, something ancient, heavy, endless, forced its way into me. I felt it nest inside my lungs, my heart, my very soul. I don't remember walking back into town, but people whispered that night about the oak tree. They said it glowed faintly, as if fireflies were trapped in its branches. Now, the whispers never leave me. I hear them in the static of radios, in the hum of power lines, in the spaces between dreams. Sometimes when I pass a mirror, my reflection doesn't move. Sometimes smoke curls out of my mouth as if fire is slowly burning me alive from the inside out. Every Halloween, without fail, the lantern glows again. No matter how many times I bury it, no matter how far I try to run, each year it presses harder. Each year I lose more of myself. And when I finally surrender completely, when the last piece of me is gone, the lantern will hunger for someone new. So if you ever come to this town and see a faint light flickering beneath the oak tree, don't follow it, because it isn't a lantern. It's a warning. And if you touched it, would you be strong enough to let go?
The footsteps never stopped. No matter how quickly I walked, no matter how much I slowed, I could still hear them. Soft, steady, perfectly in rhythm with mine. At first, I thought someone was following me through the dark tunnels, but the longer I listened, the more I realized the truth. The steps weren't behind me, they were with me. Tokyo is full of urban legends. Most are harmless stories for tourists or jokes traded in bars late at night, but one kept surfacing in half-forgotten forums and drunken whispers: the endless path. They said that if you chose the wrong stairwell beneath Shinjuku Station on Halloween night, you'd be trapped in a loop. No matter how far you walked, you'd never reach the exit. And once you heard the footsteps, you would never walk alone again. I always thought it was nonsense. A city as crowded as Tokyo didn't have forgotten stairwells. I commuted daily. I knew the station inside out. Until that night. The trains had stopped running. The neon glow above leaked weakly through the cracks. I should have stayed on the main road, but something pulled at me like a rhythm under my skin. That's when I noticed it. A stairwell. Narrow. Old. Unmarked. It shouldn't have been there. And still, I descended. With every step, the noise of the city fell away until only a faint sound remained. Drums. Slow. Ancient. And then the footsteps. At first they were echoes, shadows in sound, but when I turned, the stairwell was empty. Just silence. Just darkness. I walked faster. The steps quickened too. I slowed. They slowed. They weren't following me. They were stitched to me. At the bottom, the air grew heavy and damp. The tunnel stretched on forever. Lights above buzzing weakly like dying fireflies. And then I saw her. Her hair, her clothes, exactly like mine. She moved with my rhythm, the same tilt of her head, the same swing of her arms. Whenever I sped up, she did too. Whenever I slowed, she slowed. Always just far enough ahead, always out of reach. And still, the footsteps, inescapable. I spun around, desperate to catch whoever trailed me. Nothing, only the echo. I called out into the hollow dark. My voice cracked and then died. No answer. Finally, in blind panic, I lunged forward, reaching for the figure. My hand touched her shoulder. She vanished, only to reappear, walking calmly ahead as if nothing had happened. My heartbeat rising, frantic, my chest ached with panic. Who was ahead? Who was behind? And who was I in this endless rhythm? Then the whispers came. Low, alien, a language scraped raw from the earth itself. They tangled with the footsteps, weaving into a suffocating chorus. The figure stopped. Slowly, she turned. Her face was mine, but her eyes, endless. The whisper stopped. Silence slammed down like a coffin lid. And still, the footsteps continued. I froze, rooted in terror. My hollow-eyed reflection smiled faintly before dissolving into the dark, leaving me alone in the tunnel. Alone, but not really. Because the footsteps never stopped, and they never will. So, if you ever find yourself in Shinjuku Station late at night, don't take the wrong stairwell, because once you hear the steps, you'll never walk alone again. And you'll spend forever asking the same question I do. Am I the one being followed, or am I the one doing the following?